Hello everyone and welcome to the 5.2.5 Abyss and Imaginarium Theater. I mean, what can I do? With the way that they've done the whole resetting thing, it's become really weird with the timing of patches. So we had the Abyss and Imaginarium Theater reset right in the middle of 5.2, alongside with the previous Abyss and Imaginarium Theater resetting at the start of 5.2, and it's like, where does it sit? So 5.2.5 it is, bitches. Hey, what can I do? So, welcome to again the 5.2.5 Abyss. It's a very interesting Abyss because a lot of people most likely are going a bit crazy on social media because I would say it's definitely one of the toughest abysses, but we're gonna have to see in detail why that is. So, let's begin with floor 11. As always, floor 9 and 10 are not changed. If you want to check up on those, look at the 5.0 video. So, starting with floor 11, very standard enemies on all chambers. Floor 11 starts with a very easy monolith defense. First half is a bunch of tribes people, and then it's all the Sauruses one by one. It's around 4 of them. It's an extremely easy monolith, nothing much. The tribespeople shouldn't be of any problem, and then it's literally one Saurus at a time. I think you'll easily manage on that. Then it's followed by a very weird combo on 11 too, of 3 waves of 3 enemies each, which start with Pyrofatui agents, followed by Sauruses, and then Ruin enemies. Just extremely weird. With the second half containing 1 Avatar of Lava and 2 Ruined Drakes of the flying version. Just simple enemies all around, just in really weird combos, honestly. And floor 11 finishes off with 2 waves of 2 enemies each, consisting of 2 Eremites with infusing weapons and 2 Kairagis on the first half, and the second half contains 2 Water Eidolons. They can be annoying, but they have also put these many times in this exact spot in the Abyss. So for those of us that have done previous Abysses, you know what they do. For everybody else, they spawn on the same side, which is very annoying because they non-stop spam attacks, and many of those attacks are constant hits like spins and a water gun attack, and they can chain stun you quite easily and kill your characters. Although overall, this floor 11 is very basic, no enemies that need any specific strategies against them, with the only exception being the Eidolons, since they always have a Hydro aura on them, so plan accordingly, and you should be good. So yeah, floor 11, extremely easy, extremely simple. Floor 12 though, the pain begins, people, and just you wait for 5.3's Abyss. So this floor 12 isn't horrendously hard, I would say, and honestly, it's a pain in the ass for people like me, honestly, that see an Abyss floor and they want to do all chambers using one team, right? Just fully clear floor 12 with 2 teams, which honestly is the main way of tackling the Abyss, but because you are allowed to keep your lowest times in between runs, so if you had 3 stars, you can keep those 3 stars, it is very much allowed and honestly recommended to finish each chamber with a different team if you can't finish it in one go. And this floor 12 is exactly that. If you're struggling with it, you have to get this mindset out of your head and complete each chamber as your teams allow it to. Why is that though, right? Let's get into floor 12 and see. 12-1 is very tough because of multiple waves and slightly annoying enemy lineups. The first half begins with 2 Fluid Avatars of Lava, which are the ones that constantly have a Pyro aura on them, followed by 2 Eremite Spirit Spawners, and then also followed by 2 Consecrated Beasts. Yup, this half is insane. While the first 2 waves aren't the biggest issue because the Avatars of Lava aren't that tanky or difficult, and the Eremites can be chunked down by killing their spirits, and we are on 12-1 so they don't have the highest HP, the third wave of 2 Consecrated Beasts is sure to get some time from you. They non-stop move around, they do have their resistances, it's the Pyro Bird and the Hydro Crocodile, and as a combo they can also be dangerous with the damage they can deal, but it doesn't end there because the main problem of this half is exactly what I predicted a few versions back on how the Abyss would become more difficult. This half is mainly a time waster, because the second half contains 2 Geovishaps followed by the Primal Geovishap, which I bet you completely forgot this boss existed. And this is where the first half shines its teeth. It's there to eat up all of your time because it gets followed by a half that contains normal enemies and a boss. And the Primal Geovishap, while not that hard, and you can chunk its health by using a powerful shield to counter its shower attack, it does have like a 10-second period where it doesn't take any damage basically. And again, it's exactly what I predicted when these kinds of chambers appeared. Before, there weren't that many enemies in the other half, and the enemies in the boss half were extremely simple. But now, they are definitely slowly limit testing, because the first half is chock full of enemies in multiple ways, and not of the easiest kind, and the enemies before the boss aren't superbly easy like before. Previous times there were things like Saurians or something, but now the Geovishaps aren't again as simple to kill. And by the way, one of the Geovishaps and the Primal Geovishap are Electro, so Electro characters will deal less damage when they get infused. And that is just 12-1. Moving to 12-2, we have two bosses and both are new. The first half is the new Gold Flame Tyrant boss from Natlan, which is the Pyro Bird boss. This guy is finicky, especially if you haven't fought it at all. It will immediately go into its Pyro Spirit phase, let's say, where it gains a Pyro Shield and then constantly sends out attacks, as well as these Pyro Flowers that you have to destroy. They also have a Pyro Shield, basically, so use the necessary elements to destroy them alongside its own shield. The way the phase works is that the boss will land while doing an attack on one of these flowers, but if both are destroyed, it will only descend on one of their locations, allowing you to easily get hits in. For characters that can slightly cheese this boss, because you know how to counter a Pyro Shield, but there are ways to get a few cheap hits in. For characters that I have also tested and seen, Furina is the absolute cheat because her summons will just teleport up where the boss is in the air and hit it. Nuvillet can ever so slightly hit the boss with his Power Washer, but you need to make sure you have his droplets to charge it quickly. Child and Yelan being bows can weave some hits in the boss, especially since Child will trigger Riptide, and it will cause some extra hits. Unfortunately, I really hoped Xingqiu would be an easy solution, because I have seen his rain swords home in on some extreme stuff, but they just don't do for this boss, although of course he is amazing once the boss lands on the ground. So yeah, this boss just needs countering the Pyro Shield, and then it's very easy. It's always on the ground, its attacks aren't that scary. What would worry you when going up against this boss is what follows in 12-3. But before it is the second half of 12-2, and it's the newest and most annoying boss, the Tenebrous Papilla, or in other words, the Transforming Abyss boss, that was just added with 5.2. This boss is bullshit because it feels so inconsistent to me. The regular flow of this boss fight is that it begins with a neutral shield, let's say, and you have to hit the boss as much as you can to stun it. Honestly, it feels exactly like a Wuwa/Zenless enemy. But once you do that, it gets stunned, and afterwards it will start morphing into different bosses and also teleport around. Some of the bosses are the Dendro Chicken, the Ironblight Drake, and the Cryo Regisvine, to name a few that I have seen. And it will non-stop teleport and attack while changing these forms. The biggest problem I have with this boss, and the inconsistency which you might see in the background footage, is that while it has its shield up, it inflicts a corrosion style debuff on you that chunks your characters. And sometimes it decides to do this big wave attack close to breaking its shield that straight up two-shots any character two-shots any character. The wave gets your character to half HP, and then the corrosion chunks the other half. It doesn't matter how much HP you've got. My 36,000 HP Baizu got chunked the exact same way as any other of my characters. And this thing has high electro resistance, which isn't honestly that obvious, because it's an Abyss monster and it's not that clear from color that it has these resistances, especially with the morphing thing. Yeah, I just could not figure out how this wave worked, because I went in with a Hu Tao team, and she did not get killed, yet my Baizu, which I even tried to use Burst to dodge the attacks, gets deleted. Generally, I could not figure out any consistency behind this attack. Was I slow on breaking the shield? Am I just being punished for doing good and breaking the shield fast? Because I've seen clips on social media where the attack just doesn't happen. They didn't even dodge it or something. It just never happened. And it also happened to me. Like, I was expecting the attack and never happened. I genuinely don't know. this boss is just annoying with the teleporting around and the stupid shield. But like again, this wave is the main thing, and the stupid corrosion, because of course we need corrosion. In the fucking patch where we have fucking Zhongli, we're gonna have to use corrosion enemies. What? And the previous chamber is the Primo Geovis Hub, which wants a shield. Like, what the fuck do you want, miHoYo? Genuinely. And then here comes 12-3, where both halves require something specific from your teams, and this is the main cause of problem for the previous chambers, and why I really suggest, if you care that much for the Primos, to tackle the chambers 1 or 2 at a time with different teams, because 12-3 contains the Golden Wolf Lord and the Aeon Blighted Drake that need a Geo character and a bow respectively. They aren't tough bosses, and they are not that tanky either, but the requirement of a Geo character and a bow means that you need to adjust your teams accordingly when going through the previous chambers to reach these ones. Say you're using Nuvilette for the bird on 12-2, but you don't have a Geo character that fits a Nuvilette team. Or vice versa, you don't have a Geo character that can use your available Hydro characters. Same with the Drake, your high hit teams that you want to use against the Papilla don't have a bow. Or you could use someone like Fischl, but the Papilla has electro resistance, so her damage is lowered a lot. And again, it's where my advice comes in. Complete 12-1 and 12-2 with their own appropriate teams, and then waste as much time with teams that you made for 12-3. Right, it's extremely simple. 3-star 12-1 and 12-2, and then waste time getting to 12-3. And if you're asking for more specific stuff on these two bosses, the Wolf Lord is just annoying because it flies around, and its hit detection is wonky AF, because I have seen characters hit the middle of the arena because it's just kind of not programmed correctly. Like, if you hit the Wolf Lord, you'll see numbers not pop up on top of the Wolf Lord. The numbers of your damage will pop in the middle of the arena. So, like, the fuck is happening there? So yeah, like, you can have, let's say, a Nuvilette, you want to get some droplets using his skill, but then he'll hit the middle of the arena where the Wolf Lord just isn't, he's flying around, and then you'll get no droplets. So yeah, it's very wonky. And then it summons its small heads that need Geo to be broken, and the Drake just immediately starts flying and you need a bow to bring it down. Then it's just a really basic enemy. This Abyss is a hint. The new Netland bosses are very annoying, and yes, I deliberately did not mention that Night Soul attacks destroy the Papilla's shield quicker, because the Night Soul bullshit can fuck off because it's a predatory way to get you to pull 4 Netland characters, and I didn't use it to kill this thing, and honestly, I would rather you struggle with non-Netland characters to defeat this boss rather than falling for miHoYo's bullshit. And 5.3 is looking to kick us in the balls really hard with this predatory bullshit, even more if you've seen leaks. So, be prepared is the one thing that I'll say. This Abyss is the hint, and 5.3, if it doesn't change on release, is gonna be a giant kick in the balls. So that's the Abyss. Again, floor 12 is the epitome of, hey, I know you like doing the Abyss with one team, completing all chambers with one team each, but maybe, just maybe, if you're struggling, just wake up and just do things one at a time. And I genuinely suggest that, because you are allowed to do that. So even if it causes you to lose some pride in yourself or whatnot, just finish stuff like that. Genuinely, don't struggle. Especially, like, if you really care for the Primos, don't crazy struggle to do everything all in one go. So then we move on to Imaginarium Theater to finish off the video. I have some interesting stuff actually for Imaginarium Theater, but first let's see the enemy lineup and starting cast. So the elements this time were Hydro, Electro, and Anemo, which was done because of Ororon and Chaska very clearly. The enemies do kind of reflect this. You have the giant enemy crab from Fontaine that needs its Pyro Shield broken, followed by the Pyro Bird from Natlan, if you didn't have enough from it. And then for some reason, because the Ruined Serpent in the previous Imaginarium Theater was enough, the Winat is here, and it's exactly as annoying as the Ruined Serpent. In Imaginarium Theater, where the time limit is lower than the Abyss, the Winat is unfathomably annoying, coupled with the RNG elements of Imaginarium Theater. And lastly, in max difficulty is the experimental field generator from Fontaine, that allows your characters to plunge attack, so use that against it. And thankfully, the starting cast is actually decent with one slight outlier. So the starting cast consists of Kokomi, Xingqiu, Raiden, and Sara, and John and Lynette. The outlier isn't Sara, believe it or not, but Xingqiu, who isn't using Emblem of Severed Fate, even though they gave him Sacrificial Sword. Like, okay, at least he has Heart of Depth and Noblesse, but Emblem is so much better for him, which is kind of a bummer to see. But the one thing I wanted to mention, and that I immediately noted down when I saw, is I believe there's a bug. I can't really pinpoint how to trigger it, where one of your characters will have their weapon switched for a basic weapon. For both of my examples, it happened to be a basic bow. Because it happened to my Venti, which I know very well was using a stringless that I do not move around. And it also happened to one of my friends, Child, which was very funny to see poor Child dealing 0 damage. But yeah, it happened to 2 characters on different accounts. And if it happened to you, then please mention it in the comments. But I can tell you, I am 100% sure my Venti was not accidentally using a basic bow. I've never switched his stringless, I was not moving weapons around, nor testing anything. My Venti has stuck with his stringless forever. So, just randomly seeing him with a basic bow, and again, seeing my French Child, which has also never moved his weapons around, with a basic bow, means there's a bug or something. I kind of think it's when you put a character on the 4th slot, but also sometimes happens, because it didn't happen all the time. So, I don't know. Again, I kind of want to say maybe it's only for bow characters? I don't know, again, it seems like a bug, because again, I'm 100% sure my Venti was using his stringless, and then all of a sudden he has a basic bow in the Imaginarium Theater. And that's 5.2.5 Abyss and Imaginarium Theater, because, again, they changed right in the middle of 5.2. The Abyss is hinting at worsening for players by becoming extremely annoying, and Imaginarium Theater was fine except for the stupid Wii Nut. So, that's the video. Thankfully, I was able to get this out, because, again, I'm on holidays. Sorry for the wonky AF sound if I manage to fix it as much as I can fix it, because the setup right now is extremely weird. I'm not even joking. So, excuse that. Next up should be the version review, which literally falls on, like, the first of the year. Like, the fucking version changes extremely close to New Year's. Why? My goodness, couldn't they, like, let it go for a little bit more? Anyways, yeah, so the version review should be next. No character reviews right now. So, see you in another video. Like the video if you liked it. Sub to the channel to help it out. And again, I'll see you in another video. Goodbye.